the Queen, and I got into the main story, and it was amazingly better than expected. A rough start, I guess, is what we could look at. Maybe some of you are waiting for this. It's like, it gets really good. It gets much better. You just got to keep going a little bit, which is a little, it's almost like a black mark against the game as the main story starts out. It's like, oh, the Imperials, the Starcloaks, and your Earth Jorgensen, and blah, 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 blah. It's like a lot of information, and then you get this like really cool dungeon at the very start of the game. You're like, oh, that's good. This over here is really good. This not so much. This not so much. But I finished off the big dwarven quest line that we were on with like 4 dungeons and a ghost of Catria and finding the forge and doing all that kind of stuff. And that was great. I loved that. When it was completed, we got a nice piece of gear and like a mini boss fight, but it was one big thing that keeps coming up is like the difficulty of the game. It really depends where I am. Like sometimes I do a boss fight that's really quite tough, like Umbra would be a great example of that. And then sometimes you're doing things that maybe the game expected you to do. It's RPG stuff, right? It's stuff you have way out leveled by that point. And again, the combat's not amazing, so I'm not super bothered. So we got a nice little mini boss fight. It was cool, a big giant centurion that we fought many of. As soon as I have so much bonus two-handed damage now. I think I have over 100% bonus two-handed damage, not including talents, which is like another 100%, I think. And Berserker Rage, which like doubles your damage. So when I want to smork something, when Clark the Orc wants to bring the noise, I can really do some massive DPS, especially with guaranteed crits on charges and things like that. So that's cool. I really enjoy doing that. And you just see these health bars go pew all the way down, all the way down. So with that complete, I was like, where to go next? Because we did the cannibal stuff, we did some vampire stuff. But honestly, I was in that position where I was like, there's a few things here I'm kind of interested in. The Dawn Guard is a particular one because the guards keep going like, you should really go and check the Dawn Guard out. And I'm like, all right. But one thing that did, as I was looking through, a lot of them got cool names like, oh, go to the Sightless Pit and things like that. But one that was really interesting to me because I was kind of near it was I'd had Meridia's Beacon in my inventory for ages. So I was near Meridia's tomb on the map. So I was like, oh, we should go there and see what's going on there and have some fun there. This was kind of cool, although it was one of those dungeons that I felt could have just gone a little bit further. It was... the idea was to get Meridia's light, and she ascended me to the sky, and she spoke to me, and she had this like all sultry voice and all that kind of stuff. And she was showing a bit of leg, which apparently was very exciting for a lot of people on her statue. But the idea was to rebound her light, like reflect it through this intricate dungeon. So I was like, who built this? Because it reflects like through an entire dungeon, and then it goes outside of the dungeon again around a mountain, and it goes around the edge, and then it comes back into another dungeon and goes back down. And I was like, this is kind of fun. Gave me a Legend of Zelda vibe, certainly if you played Ocarina of Time. And I was like, are we going to get like a mirror shield? So I have to like aim it, which is a classic sort of RPG thing of like reflecting light in a certain direction. No, it's still bound by the limitations of the Skyrim design. So it's just you click a thing and it automatically goes where you want it to go. But the idea was cool. The idea was very nice. And it made me one with Meridia to like spread her love around the world. I'm becoming this like super being, I think. Right? I mean, kind of. If you think about it, I'm already the Donut King. But I'm also like a werewolf leader of the companions. I will give a shout out after my complaints about the companion storyline yesterday is the dialogue of the guards does change. One of them recognized me as the leader of the companions. So I was like, that's cool. They did recognize something I've done in the game. That's awesome. So I'm the leader of the companions. I'm a werewolf. I'm a cannibal. I've also sided with Maul Bagal, who is the god of like, not death, but bad things in general. Because I beat a priest to death. And Maul Bagal was very happy with that. He was like, that's awesome. It's like, you're my boy now, and you've got my super mace. If anything, I wonder if I have all these items. Like, I have the Ring of the Cannibal Goddess. I have the Mace of Maul Bagal, which I actually benched because I don't want to be on his team. So I actually just left it in the house. I was like, I don't want this thing. I wonder if... I do wonder, and I'm going to probably ask my audience, so maybe you can let me know down in the YouTube comments, and Bex can let me know, is like... If I continue to do these things, does something happen? Like, is there an advanced storyline that's like, oh, you're a cannibal, but that's just like introducing you to cannibalism. But if you do the stuff wearing Cannibal God's ring, I think it's called Nimue or something like that. No, that's a WoW boss. Something like that. Is that stories will unlock, like the cannibal storyline will sort of branch out from there. I don't know. Or I just have this mass array of items that are just bonuses, which I think is what it is. That's why I haven't pursued it. I think it's just a case of, oh, well, now when you eat people, you get a little health buff and things like that. It's like, oh, okay. I'm not going to pursue that. I don't need it, but sure, that's cool. So I did Meridia's storyline. And then I was like, what is the next most interesting sounding quest in my log? And it was to retrieve the horn of Jorgen somebody. And it mentioned shouts. So I was like, oh, that's something to do with my shout dragon power. That could be cool. Some sort of advancement. Maybe there's like another tech tier to unlock because there's like 3 stages of the shouts. Maybe there's a 4th. I don't know. Get the horn and horn's noise and things like that. What then proceeded to unlock was basically main story, as far as I can tell. By accident. It just sounded interesting. And it was really cool. It was a... Before we go too deep into it, I will say it was a distinct departure to what I've been enjoying in the game so far in terms of how slow it is. Very slow. Very much trying to immerse you into the world. With some very sort of like, this is kind of taking a while, especially as there's a lot of escorting quests going on. And the NPCs do that ridiculous thing where they move at a speed that just never matches the player character in any way. You can't walk at that speed because you're too slow. You can't run because you're too fast. So you end up doing this sort of like stutter step to keep going. I'm sure at some point there was a decision made in some game dev tutorial somewhere where it's like, if you do it at this speed, they can't really get lost because they have to keep modifying to what the NPCs are doing. But God, it's frustrating. Like, it's hella frustrating. I'd rather mount up and run off and I have to go meet them somewhere. I would absolutely prefer that in every way. But either way, what unfolded was the horn had been stolen. By the time I did the dungeon for the horn, it had been stolen. And I had a note saying, if you found this, you're probably the Dragonborn. And therefore, come to this location and say these words and I'll give you the horn. I was like, ominous. And it turned out to be one of the towns at the very beginning of the game. In fact, I think it's the very first village you bump into. And so I went there, and it turned out that the owner, the proprietor of the inn, was actually like something called a blade. The blades is something I bumped into, I think, during one of the harder dungeons I'd done. But I didn't have context for what the blades were. I do now. Exposition, blah. Expedition overload. The blades were the original, like, dragon fighters, and their job was to hunt down, or not hunt down, but to seek out the Dragonborn, and deal with all the dragons in the world. But considering the dragons have been gone for so long, the blades have essentially dissolved, and there's, like, one of them left. And that's her, and she's been seeking purpose in her life for so long, but now that I'm back, and the dragons are back, her purpose is renewed, and I was like, oh, this is cool. And what then proceeded to unfold, that's not what interested me. That all is, like, very tropey. What did interest me, actually, was the situation that was happening between the Thalmor, I'm sorry if I get these names wrong, and the Blades, and the people behind the scenes who are causing the sort of the bumpkins like us day-to-day civilians to be completely distracted from what is actually the major threat of the world. This is some of the best storytelling if you can pull it off, and I really hope they do. This is what made Game of Thrones so good. It's very realistic to the real world, certainly the current political climate, but essentially the political climate forever. It's not like a modern thing. Like, anybody who's studied any history knows this is exactly how this plays out, is you try and get the plebs, me and you, to be very focused on this thing over here, while these guys in the background are like, we need this. And that's what's going on with the Thalmor. Primarily the Thalmor, who are very open. Once you go to a party to find out, she hates the Thalmor, and she wants to find out why they have brought the dragons back, because she assumes they're such douchebags that the dragons being back is definitely them. Like, they would absolutely be the ones to cause this. So you need to go to this party in Solitude, which is where I met the queen. She's not the queen yet. She has to be recognized, but she was very nice, and her court was full of butt kissers, as you would expect. Again, very realistic. This is why I was immersed. I was like, oh, this is very true to life of what's going on. And she's got some very stern protectors who are trying to keep her safe, but she's generally a very nice person. And you go to this party where you have to dress up and things like that, and cause distractions, which was very on the nose to get this guy. He's the only guy you meet going to the party. He's like, I like beer. We're going to have a party. I can't believe we got invited. And then as soon as you go into the party, it's like, cause a distraction. He's just sat in his own like, I wish I had a drink. If I had a drink, I would probably cause a distraction. It's like, okay. Not exactly cracking the CIA database here and what needs to happen. But it was kind of funny. He like called the host of the party a whore, and he just goes mad. And I was like, this is really fun. People were moaning at me actually, like, you're supposed to be sneaking out the room right now. I was like, I'm enjoying the show. This is really fun. But going through that, you find the Thalmor dossiers, and they're blaming the Blades. And it's kind of funny because they're like, we hate the Blades and the Blades hate us, and we definitely assume one or the other is causing this problem with the dragons. And it's like, we don't really know what's going on, but it's definitely probably those douchebags over there. And the Blades are like, no, it's definitely them. Where we find out this like ancient Blade is still alive somewhere in the Ratways. We think he's going to be there. And then the story plays out with going and fetching him. And Thalmor people are there. I was a little concerned about this because I had killed a lot of people in the Ratways, but it turned out that the people I had killed in the Ratways were actually Thalmor people, so that was a thumbs up. That turned out not to be a problem. Where we meet Max von Sydow. That might mean nothing to you if you're not a bit of a cinephile, because he's had some very prestigious roles over the years, but a long time and seasoned Hollywood actor, and I knew the voice immediately. So it was cool, and then it became apparent, it's like, oh, this is main story. I actually didn't know this was main story up until this point. I was like, well, this is like a top tier actor, like this is a main part of the story, and it is, and he is exposition man. He is going to explain the history of the dragons and Anduin, and where he came from, and he's the everlasting, and things, and all these kinds of things. As much as I love hearing Max von Sydow's voice and getting more backstory on who I am and why I'm important and all that, it's very slow. Very, very. And he's also Mr. Puzzle Solver. So essentially, I went through some dungeons of like lost libraries of dragons and things like that the Blades had built up. And this beautiful artwork, which I then found out was like used as part of the marketing for Skyrim. But you have to wait for him to like dodder over there, and then he like tells you what the puzzle solution is, and you just click it and he goes, okay. And then we move to the next one, and there was even a point that I got to the big wall artwork that I believe Bethesda has in their campus, someone told me, because it's such a wonderful piece of art telling the story of the Dragonborn. I explored the whole area and looted it before he had managed to get there. I was like, I don't know what we're supposed to be doing here at all. And people are like, you just have to wait for the RP. Because I had like run around, explored everything, looted everything, picked chests and all that. And he still hadn't made it there. And then he turns up and he tells you the story. And I'm like, all right. And then he carries on with a lot of bonus dialogue. And I was like, okay. I mean, it's interesting. It's cool. But whatever. It's definitely a big departure from like crazy dwarven dungeons and stumbling across a tower that's under attack by the Forsworn or hags or these goblins running around and things like that I've been used to for like the last 6 days, right? This is like a week of playing Skyrim. So I was like, all right, that's pretty cool. Got that story, and then it was like, you need to go and see the Greybeards again. Because now the Blades and the Greybeards, they also have problems. And this is very in tune with religion. I mean, that's what the allegory is that's going on here. These dragons are mystical, wonderful creatures, no doubt, right? Destructive, sure, but like very mystical, wonderful creatures. So of course they're mysterious. And so there's like theories and cults and basically religions that have built around them that are at odds with each other. They're different interpretations of what's gone on. That's essentially what's going on here. So you've got the Thalmor believing one thing, the Blades believe another thing, and the Greybeards believe another thing. And they all hate each other and refuse to work with each other. Like the Greybeard's like, no, the dragons are full of wisdom, and only if you pursue wisdom will we talk to you. The Blades are destructive and violent. You don't want to do that. And the Thalmor are like manipulative and horrible people. You don't want to deal with those either. So you're trying to like balance these things, and they're refusing to tell you. Until like the biggest giveaway ever is this clearly dragon voice speaks to the leader of the Greybeards after he refuses to help you, and then he changes his mind. I'm like, well, there's totally a dragon here. And they had mentioned that there's another member of the Greybeards who lives in solitude at the top of the mountain. I was like, oh, it's a dragon. It's totally a dragon. They have a dragon, 100%. And they were like, it was one of those most on-the-nose reveals ever. I kind of wonder why they bother to do it this way. At least they didn't drag it out. I always claim, and many of you have probably played this game, that the worst kept secret reveal ever I've seen in a video game of the modern era was in Assassin's Creed Black Flag. And there is a character who is blatantly female. Like, as soon as she appears on screen, you're like, oh, that's a lady, right? Because there's a very clear graphical style to this game. And all the men are like rugged sea dogs, right? With all chapped skin and all that. And then there's like this person who is supposed to be a male sea captain who is like beautifully textured and like smoothest skin you've ever seen in the world. Like gorgeously tanned and is quite pretty. And they're like, yeah, I'm Captain Boat Shoe or whatever. And you're like, okay, well, maybe this is like some sort of like gender neutrality thing, but blatantly this is a female. And then there's a reveal after about 10 or 20 hours or something. It's really late in the game. It's like, I'm actually a woman. Like pulls the mustache off. I don't know if I don't know if Bex can find the clip, but there was a Saturday Night Live thing called The Californians where Kristen Wiig was pretending to be a guy, and she's just Kristen Wiig with a mustache, and then there's like a reveal. I don't know if Bex could ever find that, but that's what it felt like to me. And it's like, what is the point in this? This is blatantly a dragon that's talking. And then, thankfully, they didn't hold it back. They were like, okay, we've decided to change our mind and help you implicitly at this point. I'm like, okay, sure. We're going to teach you the final words in order to be really strong. So they taught me the big shout. I got that, and then I got one that like removed the seasonal storm that's blocking access to the top of the temple, and got up there. Now, some of you might be annoyed by this. I don't want you to be, because here's our take on it, and I'm not just talking for me. I'm talking about Team PG, the whole people who put all this together. They're like the 4 YouTube channels, the live streams, the big shows, the fucking truckathons, all the things that we do. Is that we're very much on the understanding that 99% of people listening to this have played Skyrim, and many of you may have thousands of hours in it, or some of you may have tried it and not got into it, whatever, right? But it's been seen and been done now since 2011, and I'm okay with some funky mods. And one of the mods that was voted for by a live audience, because I'd been complaining about dragons, was Macho Man Randy Savage Dragon, where dragons models are replaced by a really insane version of Macho Man Randy Savage. And it was very funny. Like, I didn't know it had been installed. This is done in secret, right? And what'll happen is occasionally Chris will come in and say, okay, there's been a decision made. I need you to leave the room for a few minutes. And then I won't know what it is until it happens later on. And that we fought Macho Man Randy Dragon a couple of times before we got to the top of the hill. But what Chris didn't know, and did annoy some people, is that the dragon Paarthurnax, or whatever he's called, that's at the top of the mountain, also has his model changed, because they must use the same model for the dragons, essentially. At least for most of them. And people got, like, upset. Like, this is supposed to be a really cool dragon, and you've presented it to Macho Man Randy Savage, and I'm fine with it. But Chris has decided to remove it for that. He doesn't want people to be upset, but also, you guys know what it is, and it's not ruining my playthrough. In fact, it's enhancing our entertainment value. Like, we're producing a show. We want it to be entertaining, and these kind of things, all right? So, this happened, and we had a guy talk with the dragon who brought up time travel. What? This game really has dipped into everything. Vampires, werewolves, ghosts, ethereal creatures, machinery, and now time travel. And from what I'm understanding, I now need to travel back in time to learn the Shout Dragon Ren, because it's been lost to the ages, which will allow me to bring down Anduin, so I can actually fight and kill him, because in the past, they never actually killed him. That's why he's back. He's back because they never killed him. What they actually did was cripple him and then use an Elder Scroll, which I'm somewhat gathering what an Elder Scroll is. I have no idea. Which actually didn't just banish him to the void or anything. It actually just moved him forward in time. And that's why he's back now. Because they never killed him. They just shifted him to a different position in time, which is now. And I'm like, and then the guy's like, you need to go back in time because the shout that cripples him, we don't know that anymore. You need to go back there. So I don't know at this point whether we're doing a Final Fantasy. And what I mean by that is nearly a huge portion of the Final Fantasy games, the single players, get to about a midway point where you've kind of explored the world, you've kind of seen things, and then something happens, a calamity or whatever, and then the whole game is like doubled. Like you get a brand new map, whole new world to explore that's been changed, and something's happened, and you essentially get all this extra real estate. It was a genius idea back in the day to not create two worlds, you know, and save on data. It's like you can just remap the same world and saving a lot of assets. And that's maybe what's going to happen here, is that we're actually going to travel back in time. I'm really wondering if I'm going to be able to influence and change the present by doing things back in time. Or is it going to be self-contained? I don't know. I don't know, man. But as you can tell, I'm into it. This is cool. This is way more interesting. We've got political intrigue that I can kind of get on board with. We've got this religious sort of infighting, which is interesting. It doesn't matter that it's dressed up as dragons and old men in robes. Like the actual premise is all there. So I'm kind of liking it, and I love sci-fi. And now we're edging more and more into sci-fi. Thumbs up from me. So that's where we're up to, and I'm going to see where we lead on the next day. So I'll catch you then, guys. Be good. Bye.